welcome to Behind the Story. I'm Sebastian Gomes, an executive editor at America Media. COVID-19 has decimated nursing homes and long-term care facilities, including convents and infirmaries where Catholic sisters are living together in community. One convent in Livonia, Michigan, just outside Detroit, lost 12 sisters to COVID-19 in a month back in the spring, and a 13th sister died later in June. It's a community of the Congregation of the Sisters of St. Felix of Cantalice, or the Felician Sisters. And today I'm joined by one of them. Sister Nancy Marie Jamroz is the co-director of the Center for Catholic Studies and Interfaith Dialogue at Madonna University, which was founded by the Felician Sisters, I believe, almost a century ago. And she joins us from her room in the convent in Livonia. Hi, Sister Nancy. Thanks for speaking with us today.
Good morning, Sebastian.
You know, when I think about Catholic sisters in this country, we're talking about some of the most selfless, loving, dedicated people who have spent their lives serving and helping others, really in any way that they can, including caring for the sick. And I imagine that that's true of the 13 sisters who died of COVID in your community. So let's go back to late March, early April of 2020. At the beginning of the outbreak. Just take us through those days in the convent when the virus hit.
All right. So March 13th, we were doing our normal convent life, having morning prayers, Mass in the morning, going to our ministries, sharing meals together, going out for necessary business and also socializing. And so life was like it normally is for most people. And then on March 14th, being that I was working at the university, an email came through saying classes will go online and the university will be closed till further notice, and we will be following the protocols of the state, the diocese, and move forward. Well, then we were in Holy Week and we found out that somebody had been positive, one of our workers who came in, and that none of us, could leave our rooms because, that the whole floor had been infected. And the first death we heard of was on Good Friday after 3 o'clock. Our eldest sister, 99 years old, Sister Mary Louisa, had died. And of course, this was a shock to us, but we knew that she, had been compromised and ill. And so of course, we're not able to go there and keep vigil with her when she was dying. And the staff in our care center took care of those prayers and so forth that we usually had sisters at her bedside doing. And then Easter Sunday, 2 more sisters died. And of course, we were shocked and we had all been in our rooms. And then a day after that, another sister died. And so at the end of that first week, we had like 8 sisters die, in our convent during Easter week.
Mm-hmm.
So
now a convent, like the life that you all have chosen to live is a community life. It's not an isolated life, right? So even though you each have your own room in this convent, it's a life that is really grounded in being together. So, so this is Easter, which, as you said, is, a very important time of year for Christians, the most important. What was it like? How did it feel to be, even though you were there, really isolated from the community, and especially for some of the sisters who were infected? What was that like?
Well, because of the deaths, all of a sudden, we became very vigilant, very concerned. And of course, we could not celebrate Easter like we usually do, with the getting together and having special meals and, a special Mass. And it was very, as I said, isolative. And when you get your Easter meal of, ham and Easter eggs, in a carry-out carton, to your room, it certainly takes away the externals that we are used to celebrating Easter.
Sister Nancy, can you tell me the story of one of the sisters who died, who was close to you, a friend of yours, a co-worker of yours, I believe, Sister Victoria Marie Indick? She was actually quite young, right? I think she was 69 at the time of her death.
Yes, she
But
was.
tell us her story.
Sister Victoria Marie and I were the two who were ministering at Madonna University. Sister was a faculty member for over 20 years, and she was a nurse by profession and a member of the nursing faculty. Um, of course, through our formation and so forth, we, lived um, together, so we knew each other well. But Sister had also, besides teaching at Madonna University, become very interested in our mission in Haiti and saw that as an opportunity for nurses, nursing students particularly, to have an experience of an international clinic that was established there about 5 years ago through our sisters who minister there.
So she was back at the convent then. She wasn't working or ministering in Haiti at the time
No,
of
when
the
she would go
outbreak
down to
itself.
Haiti, yes, when she would go down to Haiti, it would be for like a week or 10 days at a time. But she
Okay.
kept her ministry, okay, which was faculty in the nursing department at Madonna.
Okay. So and this is after Easter, right? It would be. Was it later in the month of April when you found out that she was not feeling well? Tell us that story.
It was really sudden, okay. One evening, probably around April 20th, okay, one sister said, Vicky said she can't breathe. And I said, well, we better get the nursing staff because we live in the residential part of the mother house, not the care center. And so they went to get the nursing staff. This was like about near midnight. And we saw them come up in their PPE, okay, to Vicky's room. And then we saw that I faced the front of the conference, so I saw that the EMS came and took sister to the hospital. Well, that was like one evening. The next day, many of us talked to her by phone. She said, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling stronger. She said, and then about 2 days later, she says, oh, I'm going to be coming home. All right, so this was like maybe she was in the hospital 3 days and planning to come home. And then when I talked to her, she said, but I was wheezing this morning, so they said they're going to give me some oxygen this afternoon. Well, that's the last time I spoke with her. And all of a sudden, we heard that afternoon she didn't get oxygen. She went on a ventilator. 2 days later, she died. So it was really a shock to all of us because, as I mentioned, the virus first hit in our care center. And those were the sisters who had died before Vicky. And there were 6 of them. No, there were like almost 10 of them because Sister Vicky died April 28th. So almost 10 of them had died in the care center. And she was the first one who died from the convent side.
I understand that just as a community practice that you accompany sisters who are close to death. I mean, elderly sisters when they're reaching their time. That it's a practice in the community to be there to make sure that they're not alone.
That's right. We keep vigil with them, usually saying the rosary, which most sisters are familiar with, and it's very comforting. And one of our sisters had initiated a program called NODA, No One Dies Alone. She began that at the hospital, but it was a phrase that, we transferred in our vigiling with the sisters. No one dies alone. So we would
So
pray.
obviously you weren't able to do that with these sisters who were being taken to the hospital or who were isolated and on
Right.
ventilators. I know too that there were other sisters who were infected and isolated, but actually recovered. So like when you're
Yes.
talking to them, what was it like? I mean, because you're the community is such an integral part of your life. What was it like for those sisters to be
Right.
alone in that moment?
Well, as we came out of quarantine little by little, okay, the sisters who had been infected would tell us, I can't believe that I lost all that time. I don't remember a thing. One mentioned a week, one mentioned like 3 days. She said, I found out that I had been sick for 3 days, and all I remember is going to bed one night and then waking up, and it was 3 days later. And a couple of the sisters who were more seriously infected said, I can't believe I'm here. And Sister Vicky, or they'd mentioned another sister, had died. She says, I asked God, why? Why am I still here? And even to this day, Okay, now we are socially distanced at our meals. We have to have 2 servings instead of all of us together in a dining room. But, you often hear the sisters who have survived mention something like that.
Obviously, when a member of a community or a family passes away, it's very important to have time to grieve. Has the community been able to have that time? I mean, the numbers are still staggeringly high across the country, so it doesn't look like we're anywhere close to the end of this yet. But what's the
Well,
grieving process been like for the community?
yes. Now we are able to, like be with each other and interact. The only ones who come into our convent are the workers, our nursing staff and the essential workers. We are asked not to go out, okay, unless it's a necessary trip like to the doctor. But even if we need something from the store, we're asked to give in a slip, and one of our nursing staff goes out to get supplies that we need. So that's much different, okay? I call that, especially that first week of Easter, our dark days. When we would hear that another sister died and know that we weren't with them, we had not only nursing staff who were well, okay, because the virus also hit the nursing staff, so that we had to have some of our workers from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, our headquarters, came out to volunteer to assist with what was needed, passing out meals, okay, doing things for the sisters that the nursing staff, could not do. They had to take care of the medical needs. But all of these persons were the ones who were close to these sisters, so that we could not be there, but we knew that they were there, holding their hand, talking to them, letting them know we love them, praying with them. So, we knew that, but when we heard that a sister died, we found out that we could not even have a funeral for her. So those of us who were in the convent side were allowed to go to the cemetery, but we could go one person to a car, one sister to a car. We would have to wait at the cemetery entrance, and then the 10 cars would follow the hearse to the burial site. And we would have to stay in our cars until the sister was buried. Then we could go and say our prayers for the deceased at the gravesite. But as we mentioned, that we said, hopefully when COVID is really over or contained, we will have a big mass so that families can come together and we can really hug each other and grieve our losses.
I want to ask you a kind of a bigger picture question. In processing the reality of this pandemic, how has the community been able to find strength through this? Because I can imagine it was just so. You said you were just stunned when it was first. The sisters began to pass around Easter in the Easter season. Is it even possible to just kind of move on after experiencing loss like that?
Well, even when we found news of another sister dying, and of course tears came and remorse came, then we would say, oh, we're focusing on ourselves, our loss. But if we think of them, okay, I said, my usual prayer for the deceased, eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, changed into eternal joy grant unto them, O Lord. I said, they're with God, and that's the purpose of our life, of course. With eternal love and joy, and here they weren't alone going to God. They were with, 12 other sisters. And so we would remind each other of that, okay? And then, of course, we mentioned we have special prayers that we say when a sister immediately dies. And then, of course, we remember them, in our masses and our intentions that we speak during the Mass too. And of course, because we have the ability to communicate, not only with each other, but with their families, phone calls, notes, okay? And so we kept in touch that way with each other and with their families. So it's very important to have that kind of support. And even now,
Sure.
when we're at table, somebody will say, I still can't believe that Sister so-and-so is gone. And part of our conversation daily.
One final question for you. From that experience that you all have had, what can you tell people out there who are experiencing this kind of loss, who may be alone, who may be, suffering with the virus themselves and in great fear?
Mhm. That they say that it gets better with time. It's true. We integrate that into our lives, but we always miss them. Okay, there will always be that physical presence that we don't have. So that's why I think it's very important to continue to pray for them. I found out if we pray by name for someone, that really helps. And, when the memories come, to accept them and cherish them. And remember that Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. And realize that they are alive and they are here more than they ever were. There's a beautiful statement that I have right here on my sideboard by St. John Chrysostom. Those whom we love and lose are no longer where they were before. They are now wherever we are.
Very powerful words. Sister Nancy, thank you so much for sharing the stories of the deaths of your sisters with us. I know it's hard to recount them personally for you, that these are wounds that are still very fresh, but we appreciate it, and we wanted to speak to you because we know that there are a lot of other people who are also suffering out there and can use a word like you just spoke and that John Chrysostom just spoke to help them get through this time. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. And I know that you will tell everyone who's listening about the sisters who are standing behind you. They are my sisters. We love them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sister Nancy Marie Jamroz is a sister of the congregation of St. Felix of Cantalice, or the Felician Sisters. She's the co-director of the Center for Catholic Studies and Interfaith Dialogue at Madonna University in Livonia, Michigan. And thank you all for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more video content. And you can read all of our print content from America by subscribing. Visit americamagazine.org/subscribe. We'll see you soon.